We got this all set up. YouTube, good morning and welcome. We are now on to chapter 6 of Think and Grow Rich. Let's get cracking. And as you guys know, I'm doing this, recording this on my YouTube channel, but I'm really live streaming. So if you hear me have conversations, just think of it as an addition to the chapter reading. Okay, chapter 6 is on imagination, the workshop of the mind. This is the 5th step towards riches. Yeah, those EBT gifts do be adding up. That's why I'm always grateful for the EBT gift. Don't think you got to like spend thousands of dollars on me. Just send me them free EBT gifts. We good. Or as Rosie likes to say, we Gucci. All right. The imagination is literally the workshop wherein all are fashioned all plans created by man. The impulse to desire is given shape, form, and action through the aid of the imaginative faculty of the mind. It has been said that men can create anything which he can imagine. I just have a question. How many of you, like when you were growing up, you did the whole like, you would just look off in the distance, daydreaming? I think that's what I call it, right? Daydreaming. How many of you did that? I did that a lot when I was a kid. And if you, Joe Alex, all the time, right? And if you have children, do you let them daydream? Because I do. I let my kids daydream because I know that's essential to building their imagination. Over and over and dissect the words. Oh, Vegas, you're probably going to get this. Did you also like lie in the grass and look at the clouds? I used to do that too. That's why it's so important to make sure little children have imagination. They play their little games. They have their imaginary friends. Don't take it from them. It's building their imagination. I would make sure, you would try to see the shapes in the clouds, right? Oh, Black Chad, I hope you encourage him to keep dreaming and to just keep with his imagination. All right, Vegas, when we link, that's what we're going to do. We're going to lie in the grass and look at the clouds and see what shapes we see. That's so fun. I do it with my kids. They love it. Of all the ages of civilization, this is the most favorable for the development of the imagination because it is the age of rapid change. On every hand, one may contact stimuli which develops the imagination. Through the aid of his imaginative faculty, man has discovered and harnessed more of nature's forces during the past 50 years than during the entire history of the human race previous to that time. He has conquered the air so completely that the birds are a poor match for him in flying. He has harnessed the ether and made it serve as a means of instantaneous communication with any part of the world. He has analyzed and weighed the sun at a distance of millions of miles and has determined through the aid of imagination the elements of which it consists. He has discovered that his own brain is both a broadcasting and a receiving station for the vibration of thought, and he's beginning now to learn how to make practical use of this discovery. He has increased the speed of locomotion. The time will soon come when a man may breakfast in New York and lunch in San Francisco. I mean, they do that already right now. Man's only limitation within reason lies in his development and use of his imagination. He has not yet reached the apex of development in the use of his imaginative faculty. He has merely discovered that he has an imagination and has commenced to use it in a very elementary way. That pebble grass, that's okay. When you come here, when you come this way, we have lots of grass, okay? 2 forms of imagination. The imaginative faculty functions in 2 forms. One is known as synthetic imagination and the other as creative. Synthetic imagination, through this faculty, one may arrange old concepts, ideas, or plans into new combinations. This faculty creates nothing. It merely works with the material of experience, education, and observation with which it is fed. It is the faculty used most by the inventor, with the exception of the genius who draws upon the creative imagination, which he cannot solve his problem through synthetic. Now, creative is through the faculty where the finite mind of man has direct communication with infinite intelligence. It is the faculty through which hunches and inspirations are received. So how many of you, Lockie, good morning. All right, thanks, Lock. Have a wonderful day. How many of you have synthetic imagination where you're just, you're not really creating anything, you're just building on old things? And how many of you have creative imagination where you're getting those hunches from spirit and you're following through? I'll tell you, I have creative imagination. And it's funny because in my area, I have a lot of people who will come and take my classes and then go and reteach my class. And that is synthetic imagination. Whereas I have creative imagination because I'm the original person who put together the class and whatnot, right? The thing is, well, you'll find out, but synthetic imagination is not the way to go. You want to have creative imagination. Creative imagination is where new ideas are handed over to man. It is through this faculty that thought vibrations from the minds of others are received. It is through this faculty that one individual may tune in or communicate with the subconscious minds of others. Do you guys get that? So if you are a person who uses creative imagination, you can actually read the subconscious minds of other people. And then when you're creating, you create to that need. That is what makes you successful. It's trusting what you're receiving. You might say, you know what? I live in a town. There's no bagel shop here. I'm going to form a bagel shop. And besides, I like making bagels. And I'm going to do it because it feels fun to do and I like doing it. And I'm going to do it. And then next thing you know, your bagel shop is the place to be because you've picked up on so many people's thoughts in the area. I want a bagel. Man, I miss a bagel. Man, New York had the best bagels, you know. And then thank you for the party hats. Yes, anytime something resonates, send a little EBT gift, send a little party hat, something to just say, or just clap, you know, put a little emoji there and just say, hey, that resonates. So that is the beauty of creative imagination. The creative imagination works automatically in the manner described in subsequent pages. This faculty functions only when the conscious mind is vibrating at an exceedingly rapid rate. For example, when the conscious mind is stimulated through the emotion of a strong desire. So everybody can have creative imagination, but you have to be motivated by a strong desire. What happens is that you dream a dream and then somebody else does it first. Exactly. So if you're strong, like my strong desire in this world is to reach the sensitive people of the planet, the people like me, the psychics, the mediums. And then I want to reassess and have them redo the concept of mental health in this country. Because people like me are seen as, you know, we have personality disorders or we're bipolar or we have anxiety or depression disorders. And I'm like, why are there so many disorders? Why is there so much things wrong with me? What about the fact that everything's right with me? I dream and they come true. It's scary. That's intuitive ability. Grandma told me I need to get in tune with all the masters of the universe because the gift that I was born with, I'm going to need help with. Absolutely. Because the people like us that are sensitives and intuitives and have psychic ability and stuff, we're seen as the ones that are wrong. I'm like, what if we are the oracles of society? Remember them? Remember we used to have them? The creative faculty becomes more alert, more receptive to vibrations from the sources mentioned in proportion to its development through use. Ponder that. Y'all ponder that. Your creative mind can only develop through use. Keep in mind as you follow these principles that the entire story of how one may convert desire into money cannot be told in one statement. The story will be complete only when one has mastered, assimilated, and begun to make use of all the principles. The great leaders of business, industry, finance, and the great artists, musicians, poets, and writers became great because they developed the faculty of creative imagination. Both synthetic and creative faculties of imagination becomes more alert with use, just as any muscle or organ of the body develops through use. Desire is only a thought, an impulse. It is nebulous and ephemeral. It is abstract and of no value until it has been transformed into its physical counterpart. While the synthetic imagination is the one which will be used most frequently, in the process of transforming the impulse of desire into money, you must keep in mind the fact that you may face circumstances and situations which demand use of creative imagination as well. Your imaginative faculty becomes weak through inaction, but it can be revived through use. It doesn't die, though it may become quiescent through lack of use. Center your attention for the time being on the development of the synthetic imagination, because this is the faculty which you will use more often in the process of converting desire into money. Transformation of the intangible impulse of desire into tangible reality of money calls for the use of a plan or plans. These plans must be formed with the aid of imagination. Okay. Hey, Christian, welcome to the room. Thanks for the fave. Oracles used to move kingdoms. I'm saying on how to deal with this crazy ass life. Brandon, hey, what's up? Let me see. I dreamed. Let me see. I love that y'all were talking. I dreamed I had my son 3 years prior to before I got him. I love that. What we're feeling and why we're feeling it. We really do. I mean, people don't give, I tell people all the time, people don't give oracles the respect they used to have. I'm just saying. Read the entire book through, then come back to this chapter and begin at once to put your imagination to work on the building of a plan or plans for the transformation of your desire into money. Detailed instructions for the building of plans have been given in every chapter. Carry out the instructions. Okay? The moment you complete this, you will have definitely given concrete form to the intangible desire. Read the preceding sentence once more. Read it aloud, very slowly, and make a plan. And of course, they're helping us to make the plan. Okay? The one thing they want to let you know, this earth, every one of the billions of individual cells of your body and every atom of matter first began as an intangible form of energy. Okay, babe. Skittles, taste the freedom and peace. I love it. Kenny Red here. Welcome back, sir. We're reading chapter 6 of Think and Grow Rich and just having a little bit of discussions about it. So, desire is thought impulse. Thought impulses are forms of energy. When you begin with the thought impulse desire to accumulate money, you are drafting into your service the same stuff that nature used in creating the earth. Think about that, right? If you desire wealth, it doesn't matter your reasons. Some of us might want wealth for comfort. Some of us want wealth for stability. Some of us want wealth to take care of our families and our loved ones. Some of us want wealth for clout. It don't matter what we want the wealth for. Let's not judge anybody what they want the wealth for. But what they're saying here is that you just desiring wealth and wanting wealth makes you draw on the stuff that nature used to create the planet. Ooh, that's huge. As far as science has been able to determine, the entire universe consists of but two elements, matter and energy. Through the combination of energy and matter has been created everything perceptible to man, from the largest star down to and including man himself. You are now engaged in the task of trying to profit by nature's method. How do we do that? You are trying to adapt yourself to nature's laws by endeavoring to convert desire, I want money, into its physical equivalent. I want 200,000 a year. You can do it. It has been done before. You can build a fortune through the aid of laws which are immutable. Yeah, you got to learn the laws of the universe. Do y'all know the laws of the universe? DJ, good morning. Welcome to my room. We're reading chapter 6 of Think and Grow Rich. My poor child doesn't think we exist. I like him. Do we? Do we exist? Right? DJ for the heart eyes. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. All right. But first, you got to become familiar with the laws of the universe, okay? And learn to use them through repetition and by approaching the description of these principles from every conceivable angle. The author hopes to reveal to you the secret through which every great fortune has been accumulated. Strange and paradoxical as it may seem, the secret is not a secret. Nature herself advertises it in the earth on which we live, the stars, the planets suspended within our view, everything. Nature advertises this secret in the terms of biology and the conversion of a tiny cell so small that it may be lost on the point of a pin, and it converted it into a human being. Isn't that crazy? The conversion of desire into its physical equivalent is certainly no more miraculous. Longshore, hello. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that you are loving this chapter. I love it, DJ. Thank you. Do not become discouraged if you do not fully comprehend all that has been stated. Remember what I told you when I read? You're not going to remember everything, but the things that jump to you, put a little emoji, write it in the comments, because that's going to, again, reaffirm what you're receiving. Big Chief, I read this every year. This is my 5th time reading it. Think and Grow Rich. I've been reading it for the past 5 years. I like to read it at the beginning of the year because it resets my mindset and remind me that everything is within my reach. I just have to think it and it shall so become. Do you know that sex isn't a law? Huh? You mean natural law? Like one of the natural laws? It's not important. Oh, I don't know. I think it's a little bit important to me. I'm just kidding. Okay, do not become discouraged if you do not fully comprehend all that has been stated. Unless you have long been a student of the mind, it is not to be expected that you will assimilate all that is in this chapter on a first reading, but you will in time make good progress. The principles which follow will open the way for understanding of imagination. Assimilate that which you understand as you read this philosophy for the first time. Then when you reread and study it, you will discover that something has happened to clarify it and give you a broader understanding. Do not stop nor hesitate in your study of these principles until you have read the book at least 3 times. Ooh, I read it twice. I read it 5 times. I'm good. I'm Gucci. You will not want to stop. So, ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes. How many of you have actually spent time envisioning the rest of your life? Big, thanks for the fave. How many of you have spent time envisioning the rest of your life? If you haven't been envisioning it, how do you know where to go? I know, right, Real Sammy? Thank you, Black China. Me too. Like I already told Rose, I'll tell you guys, because to me, the more people you tell, unless they're hating on you, but even if they're, okay, I don't even care if they're hating on me, because you know what they're sending to me? Energy. That's all it is. The universe doesn't know negative or positive. It just knows energy. So y'all go ahead and hate on me. I'm going to be like Cardi B. I'd like to thank my haters for sending me the energy. Even though you thought it was going to do wrong, it did right. Here's my dream that I'm envisioning right now. My kids are grown. They're in college. So, you know, they're well taken care of. They're in college. I don't rent out my house because I don't want nobody in my house. This is like my dream castle here. So nobody's coming in this house. But I spend the year traveling and staying at Airbnbs. So like I'll leave, I'll go spend a month in Australia, have an Airbnb. Then I'll fly to London and then live in an Airbnb again for a month. And then I'll fly to Costa Rica, live in an Airbnb for a month. And I'll be streaming, of course, or doing something similar like online classes or online talks. Still have my clients online. So I'm still working, but I'm living all over the globe. That's what I'm envisioning. Vegas, then you'll probably be with me. Rayon, good morning, sir. Aw, Real Sammy, I hope you're going to be traveling with me too. Let's all go. Of course, Rose is coming with me. He's sharing my bedroom, so I'm just saying. Rose, you don't have to look for a bedroom. You can share mine. Everybody else bunk up. But that isn't it like a good dream to have? So what are your dreams? Like, what are your dreams for the next 5 years? Because literally that's going to be my dream in 5 years, because my youngest is 13. He's going to be 14 this year. So in 5 years, he'll be 19. You know what I'm saying? So this is happening, y'all. This is happening in 5 years. So tell me right now, pause chapter. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Wow, Sir Triple. He dreams of designing airplanes and cars. Ooh, another Elon Musk coming up. Another, who's Virgin Atlantic? And I'm a big fan of his too. I can't even believe I forgot his name. I love it, Sir Triple. All my positive energy to you for that. That is fantastic. I love that. Okay, the enchanted kettle. Ooh, it's a story. Story time. Let's go. You know, we like the stories. 50 years ago, an old country doctor drove to town, hitched his horse, quietly slipped into a drugstore by the back door, and began dickering with the young drug clerk. Pause. I don't know what dickering means, but I don't like it. Owning my own real estate. Ooh, flipping houses, buying a property and building a self-sustainable. Ooh, owning multiple daycare centers and being famous for my podcast and book. You guys, 5 years with my kids, family, friends, happiness, financially secured, and love. I know some ballers on this app, y'all. Don't lose my number. Don't forget the little people when you grow like that, okay? Me, the little person here. Don't forget me, okay? You guys all got some good dreams. I love it. Okay, so here's the story. 50 years ago, an old country doctor drove to town, hitched his horse, quietly slipped into a drugstore by the back door, and began dickering with the young drug clerk. His mission was destined to yield great wealth to many people. It was destined to bring to the South the most far-flung benefits since the Civil War. For more than an hour, behind the prescription counter, the old doctor and the clerk talked in low tones. Then the doctor left. He went out to the buggy and brought back a large, old-fashioned kettle, a big wooden paddle used for stirring the contents of the kettle, and deposited them in the back of the store. The clerk inspected the kettle, reached into his inside pocket, took out a roll of bills, and handed over to the doctor. The roll contained exactly $500, the clerk's entire savings. The doctor handed over a small slip of paper on which was written a secret formula. The words on that small slip of paper were worth a king's ransom, but not to the doctor. Those magic words were needed to start the kettle to boiling, but neither the doctor nor the young clerk knew what fabulous fortunes were destined to flow from that kettle. The old doctor was glad to sell the outfit for $500. The money would pay off his debt and give him freedom of mind. The clerk was taking a big chance by staking his entire life savings on a mere scrap of paper and an old kettle. He never dreamed his investment would start a kettle to overflowing with gold that would surpass the miraculous performance of Aladdin's lamp. What the clerk really purchased was an idea. The old kettle and the wooden paddle and the secret message on a slip of paper were incidental. The strange performance of that kettle began to take place after the new owner mixed with the secret instructions an ingredient which the doctor knew nothing. Read the story carefully. Give your imagination a test. See if you can discover what it was that the young man added to the secret message, which caused the kettle to overflow with gold. Does anybody know? Remember as you read that this is not a story from Arabian Nights. Here you have a story of facts, stranger than fiction, facts which began in the form of an idea. Okay? Let us take a look at the vast fortunes of gold this idea has produced. It has paid and still pays huge fortunes to men and women all over the world who distribute the contents of the kettle to millions of people. The old kettle is now one of the world's largest consumers of sugar, thus providing jobs of a permanent nature to thousands of men and women engaged in growing sugarcane and refining and marketing sugar. The old kettle consumes annually millions of glass bottles, providing jobs to huge numbers of glass workers. The old kettle gives employment to an army of clerks, stenographers, copywriters, and advertising experts. The old kettle converted a small southern city into the business capital of the South. The influence of this idea, do you guys know what this is? The influence of this idea now benefits every civilized country in the world, pouring out a continuous stream of gold to all who touch it. Gold from the kettle built and maintained one of the most prominent colleges of the South, where thousands of young people receive the training essential for success. The old kettle has done other marvelous things. All through the world, depression, when factories, banks, and businesses were folding up and quitting, the owner of this enchanted kettle went marching on, giving continuous employment to an army of men and women all over the world. If the product of that old brass kettle could talk, it would tell thrilling tales of romance in every language, The author is sure of at least one such romance, for he was part of it, and it all began not far from the very spot on which the drug clerk purchased the old kettle. It was here that the author met his wife, and it was she who first told him of the enchanted kettle. It was the product of the kettle they were drinking when he asked her to accept him for better or worse. Now that you know the contents of this enchanted kettle is a world-famous drink, it is fitting that the author confess that the home city of the drink supplied him with a wife, also that the drink itself provides him with stimulation of thought without intoxication, and thereby it serves to give the refreshment of mind which an author must have to do his best work. Whoever you are, wherever you may live, whatever occupation you may be engaged in, just remember in the future, every time you see the words Coca-Cola, that its vast empire of wealth grew out of a single idea. And that the mysterious ingredient, the drug clerk, mixed with the secret formula was imagination. Did you guys know that? Stop and think about that for a moment. Remember also that the 13 steps to riches described in this book were the media through which the influence of Coca-Cola has been extended to every city, town, village, and crossroads. And that any idea you may create as sound as Coca-Cola has the possibility of duplicating the stupendous record of this worldwide thirst killer. Truly, thoughts are things, and their scope of operation is the world itself. It will be sweet. Yeah. So you got to understand that if you get an opportunity and all of you comes alive for it, you got to take it. But you can't listen to other people. When I first came on live streaming, I saw what this could become for me. I saw that this could become another stream of income for me, especially being that I lost 3 businesses last year. But then I had a lot of naysayers, not CBG family, of course, but about how it's too hard, or you have to twerk, or you have to get naked and all this sort of craziness. But I had an idea and I went with the idea and it worked out, right? So you have to, when you get your ideas, you have to remember that that creative imagination that's coming in is coming in from the ether. And it's here for a reason. It's here for you because it's helping you realize your desires. Because let's just say I stay in live streaming 5 years from now, right? And I haven't moved on from here. Don't you see how live streaming can now take me to my goal of being a world traveler and still working and getting paid, but traveling at the same time? We'll start working on it. Exactly, Real Sammy. That, what he just said, all of that part. Okay? This story proves the truth of that old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. It was told to me by that beloved educator, the late Frank Gonzalez, who began his preaching career in the Stockyard region of South Chicago. While Dr. Gonzalez was going through college, he observed many defects in our educational system, defects which he believed he could correct if he were the head of a college. His deepest desire was to become the directing head of an educational institution in which young men and women would be taught to learn by doing. He made up his mind to organize a new college in which he could carry out his ideas without being handicapped by orthodox methods of education. He needed $1 million to put the project across. Where was he to lay his hands on so large a sum of money? That was the question that absorbed most of this ambitious young preacher's thought, but he couldn't seem to make any progress. Every night he took that thought to bed with him. He got up with it in the morning. He took it with him everywhere he went. He turned it over and over in his mind until it became a consuming obsession with him. $1 million is a lot of money. He recognized that fact, but he also recognized the truth that the only limitation was his mind. Being a philosopher as well as a preacher, the doctor recognized, as do all who succeed in life, that definiteness of purpose is the starting point from which one must begin. He recognized too that definiteness of purpose takes on animation, life, and power when backed by a burning desire to translate that purpose into its material equivalent. So we're just like recapping the earlier chapters because that's what they talked about, that you need to have a burning desire. That's one. And then you have to have a definiteness of purpose. That's two, right? He knew all these great truths, yet he did not know where or how to lay his hands on $1 million. The natural procedure would have been to give up and quit. That is exactly what the majority of people would have said, but it's not what Dr. Gonzalez said. What he said and what he did are so important that I now introduce him and let him speak for himself. Daniel, thank you for the fave. Emran, I didn't even see you spin the claw game, but thank you for the kangaroo. One Saturday afternoon, I sat in my room thinking of ways and means of raising the money to carry out my plans. For nearly 2 years, I had been thinking, but I had done nothing but think. The time had come for action. I made up my mind then and there that I would get the necessary $1 million within a week. How? I was not concerned about that. The main thing of importance was the decision to get the money within a specified time. So you heard that? It wasn't important whether he got it or not. What was important was that, hey, Daniel, good morning, was that he made a decision to get the money within a specified time. Pay attention to that. And I want to tell you that the moment I reached a definite decision to get the money within a specified time, a strange feeling of assurance came over me, such as I had never before experienced. Something inside me seemed to say, why didn't you reach that decision so long ago? The money was waiting for you all this time. Things began to happen in a hurry. I called a newspaper and announced I would preach a sermon the following morning entitled, What I Would Do If I Had $1 Million. I went to work on the sermon immediately. The spirit back of it was part of me. Long before midnight, I had finished writing the sermon. I went to bed and slept with a feeling of confidence, for I could see myself already in possession of the $1 million. Next morning, I went into the bathroom, read the sermon, knelt on my knees, and asked that my sermon might come to the attention of someone who would supply the money. While I was praying, I again had that feeling of assurance that the money would be forthcoming. In my excitement, I walked out without my sermon and did not discover the oversight until I was in the pulpit and ready to deliver it. It was too late to go back for my notes. And what a blessing that I couldn't go back. Instead, my own subconscious mind yielded the material I needed. That part. Okay, Vegas, that part. My own subconscious mind yielded the material I needed. When I arose to begin my sermon, I closed my eyes and spoke with all my heart and soul of my dreams. I not only talked to my audience, but I fancy I talked to God. I told what I would do with $1 million if that amount were ever placed in my hands. I described the plan I had in mind for a great educational institution where young people would learn to do practical things and at the same time develop their minds. When I finished and sat down, a man slowly arose from his seat about 3 rows from the rear and made his way towards the pulpit. I wondered what he was going to do. He came into the pulpit, extended his hand and said, Reverend, I liked your sermon. I believe you can do everything you said. If you had $1 million, to prove that, come to my office tomorrow and I will give you $1 million. My name is Philip D. Armour. Young Gonzalez went to Mr. Armour's office and the $1 million was presented to him. And with that money, he founded the Armour Institute of Technology. That is more money than the majority of preachers ever see in an entire lifetime. Yet the thought impulse back of the money was created in the young preacher's mind in a fraction of a minute. The necessary $1 million came as a result of an idea. Back of the idea was the desire which young Gonzalez had been nursing in his mind for 2 years. Observe this important fact. He got the money within 36 hours after he reached a definite decision. Did y'all hear that? He got the money within 36 hours after he reached a definite decision in his mind to get it. Now, he sat on this idea for 2 years, didn't get the money. But when he decided, I'm going to get this money, I'm going to get it this week, that is within 36 hours what brought him the money. There was nothing new or unique about young Gonzalez's vague thinking about $1 million. Others before him and many since his time have had similar thoughts. But there was something unique about the decision he reached on that Saturday when he put vagueness in the background and definitely said, I will get that money within a week. God seems to throw himself on the side of the man who knows exactly what he wants if he is determined to get just that. Moreover, the principle through which Dr. Gonzalez got his $1 million is still alive. It is available to you. The universal law is as workable today as it was when the young preacher made use of it so successfully. This book describes step by step the 13 elements of the great law and suggests how they may be put to use. Observe that Asa Candler, the Coca-Cola guy, and Dr. Frank Gonzalez had one characteristic in common. Both knew the astounding truth that ideas can be transmuted into cash through the power of definite purpose plus definite plans. If you're one of those who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring you riches, perish the thought. It is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands. So if you keep sitting there planning your riches off of what you currently make at a job, you're not going to get it. And if you want a large amount to come to you, you got to think it into existence. Generally speaking, an idea is an impulse of thought that impels action by an appeal to the imagination. All master salesmen know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. All master salesmen know that ideas can be sold where merchandise cannot. A publisher of books which sell for a nickel made a discovery that should be worth more to publishers generally. He learned that many people buy titles and not contents of books. By merely changing the name of one book that was not moving, his sales on that book jumped more than 1 million copies. The inside of the book was not changed in any way. He merely ripped off the cover, bearing a title, and put on a new cover with a title that had box office value. It was an idea. It was his imagination. There's no standard price on ideas. The creator of ideas makes his own price, and if he is smart, gets it. The moving picture industry created a whole flock of millionaires. Most of them were men who couldn't create ideas, but they had the imagination to recognize ideas when they saw them. The next flock of millionaires will grow out of the radio business, which is, that's like us, podcasting, right? Which is new and not overburdened. The money will be made by those who discover or create new and more meritorious radio programs and have the imagination to recognize merit and to give the radio listeners a chance to profit by it. The sponsor, the unfortunate victim who now pays the cost of all radio entertainment, soon will become idea conscious and demand something for his money. Crooners and light chatter artists who now pollute the air with wisecracks and silly giggles, damn, they're talking about us on live streams too, will go the way of all light timbers, and their places will be taken by real artists who interpret carefully planned programs which have been designed to service the minds of men. I feel like he's talking to me right now. Here is a wide open field of opportunity screaming its protest at the way it is being butchered because of lack of imagination and begging for rescue at any price. If this new field of opportunity intrigues you, perhaps you might profit by the suggestion that the successful radio programs of the future will give more attention to creating buyer audiences and less attention to listener audiences. Stated more plainly, the builder of radio programs who succeed in the future must find practical ways to convert listeners into buyers. Moreover, the successful producer of radio programs in the future must key its features so that he can definitely show its effect upon the audience. I mean, this was written in 1937. Exactly. Rosé, stop reading my mind. That's exactly what I was about to say, is that he's talking about radio programs because he's in 1937. But could we not apply that to today on live streams and podcasts where there's just like a lot of stupidness and not enough content, right? So for those of us that are conscious streamers, don't give up. Don't feel like, oh, I got to come on here and shake my ass or show body parts or act stupid to get ahead. Like, just keep putting out content. Look how many people came in this room this morning, 352, and the title told them what this room is going to be about. There's people on here that want to hear good stuff. Come on, streamers, let's give it to them. So they're talking about radio. Never let it discourage you if you have no experience in radio. Andrew Carnegie knew very little about making steel. I have Carnegie's own word for this, but he made practical use of 2 of the principles described in this book and made the steel business yield him a fortune. Okay, this is the last 2 pages, y'all. Thank you, babe. The story of practically every great fortune starts with the day when a creator of ideas and a seller of ideas got together and worked in harmony. Carnegie surrounded himself with men who could do all that he could not do. Men who created ideas and men who put ideas into operation and made himself and the others fabulously rich. Millions of people go through life hoping for favorable breaks. Perhaps a favorable break can get one an opportunity, but the safest plan is not to depend upon luck. It was a favorable break that gave me the biggest opportunity of my life, but 25 years of determined effort had to be devoted to that opportunity before it became an asset. The break consisted of my good fortune in meeting and gaining the cooperation of Andrew Carnegie. On that occasion, Carnegie planted in my mind the idea of organizing the principles of achievement into a philosophy of success. Thousands of people have profited by the discoveries made in 25 years of research. Aw, Mushu, Miss Backwoods. We're finishing this chapter 6 on Think and Grow Rich. Thank you for the heart, Black China. Y'all, please fave Miss Backwoods. That's the pretty lady right there. She's the one who took me to a million diamonds. So thank you, Miss Backwoods, for gracing my room with your presence. I am not high this morning. I'm high in life, but I'm not high like I was last night. You're welcome, Mushu. I'm very glad to come to your stream. Love you more. I'm not crying. You're crying. I don't know if I fucked up your stream last night. I apologize. I was high as shit. So I know I came in your stream. I don't remember what I said, though. I hope I was proper. That's all I'm going to say about that. Ooh, I'm still streaming on YouTube. My bad, y'all. Okay. Okay. Because I'm like on YouTube. And they're like, what the hell should we be doing at night? What's going on? Yes. Everybody heard that? Screenshot it. I am off Mushu's list. I know. That's why I was like, did I say anything out of context? Because I really shouldn't be in streams when I'm in that state is all I'm saying about that. Yeah, you probably saw on the list. Y'all talk. I'm going to finish this paragraph and then we're done with this chapter. All right. So he talked about meeting Carnegie. When the idea was first planted in my mind by Mr. Carnegie, it was coaxed, nursed, and enticed to remain alive. Gradually, the idea became a giant under its own power. First, you give life and action and guidance to ideas, then they take on power of their own. I like that because that's true. Sometimes I just haven't, like I had an idea about streaming. I had no idea it was going to go to the level it's gone to, but that's the power of it, right? Ooh, thank you for the roses. Ideas are intangible forces, but they have more power than the physical brain that gives birth to them. They have the power to live on after the brain that creates them has returned to dust. For example, take the power of Christianity. That began with a simple idea born in the brain of Christ. Its chief tenet was do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Christ has gone back to source from where he came, but his idea goes marching on. Someday it may grow up and come into its own, then it will have fulfilled Christ's deepest desire. The idea has been developing only 2,000 years, so give it time. That is the end of chapter 6. Thank you, YouTube, for following me. I will see you guys again tomorrow with chapter 7.